Welcome you all back for the second day of the 16th Himalayan Policy Research Conference event. And those of you who are new, it is the 16th event, 16th year, run by the Anna-Paulson Center of the University of New Mexico in collaboration with a lot of faculty in North America. Before we start the event formally, a couple of housekeeping, and I would like to acknowledge all the scholars who were engaged in making this event happen. So Saqib Mahmood, Samrat Kaur, Mandilu, Disha, Shende, Prakash Adhikari, Shobani Almaz, Jingjing Wang, Vinit Shrestha, Somajit Chakravarti, Thanesar Paneru, Rahman, and our advisors, Professor Keshav Bhattarai and Mukti Upadhyay. As you know, very briefly, we have this event, and the other one is the faculty development. Occasionally that happens, so workshops. A lot of faculty and students can learn. And then we have a summer graduate seminar every year. We had one last year, we'll do it again. So that's where the mentors bring their students for a nice panel presentation. And then finally, our publication portal, you can have your research work published through the digital archive and so on. And anyway, towards the end, we'll after this conference is over, we'll spend about like 20 to 30 minutes to hang out and talk to each other, explain what we do, and then maybe form some potential collaboration, QA, whatever we feel like doing. So with that, I move it on to Dr. Mandilu to explain some of the protocol. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, welcome back. It's the second day of the 16th HPRC Zoominar. So just a quick recall about our protocol. The first thing is our presentation is being recorded, and please let me know if you have any concerns about it. And please mute yourself and also turn the video off during the presentation time. And today we will have 3 panels and also 2 concurrent sessions. So during the panel time, we will remain in the main room here. And when for the concurrent sessions, we will have the breakout rooms. So we will have that instructor up later. So let me know, I'm here if you have any technology problems. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Savitri. Good morning, good evening.
Hello, Savitri. Good morning.
Hey, hi.
Good morning, Dr. Rimu Chaudhary. I think your panel is the next one up, right?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Sure. Savitri and Shomita, they have joined. I think that Professor Majburi will be joining. I have sent a mail that we have already joined. So at 6:45 we will be, that means 6:15 of Mountain Standard Time.
Yeah, you have around, I can see 10 minutes,
10 minutes. Yeah.
So it should be okay. I think Dr. Mahajan Majburi is joining.
Joining?
Yeah, I can see him. He just trying to sign, and I think he joined.
Okay. Yes, he has joined.
Everyone, if you can share your location and affiliation by renaming your ID and name, like Dr. Alok Bahara write in the chat box, please do that as well. Put your affiliation and the country location. Thank you. I can introduce a little bit more about today's program. The full program is also available on the website. It's also in the chat box. But we have the first panel is the Women and Entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia, Bridging the Gap. And the second panel will be the socially and economically disadvantaged women studies in India and Nepal. So we're very looking forward to these two first panels. And then we have the session, two concurrent session is income and health inequality and environment and health. That will be the time from 8:10 to 9:15 Mountain Standard Time. And then for the second concurrent session will be finance, trade, and economic development, and also democratization, conflict, and post-conflict processes. That will be the 9:20 to 10:10 Mountain Standard Time. And then after that,
Mandy.
we have our final session. Yes.
Mandy, since we still have some time, you can show the screen if it is okay. Program, that would be great.
Okay, yeah, sure. I can.
I think that'll be easier for individuals to
Okay.
look into. And
Yes, we are on day 2,
yes,
December
this is the
5th, right here. This is our first 2 panels.
and if you go down, I think Mandy, you were trying to explain the other sessions, right? Like the break and then 8 to 10 and okay.
Yes,
Second.
so when we listed this like next to each other, it's at the same time, it's 8:10 to 9:15 for these 2 sessions. So at the time, I will have the breakout rooms, so you can pick one room to join. I will rename the breakout rooms, so it's easier for you to choose the topic you prefer to. And then the second concurrent session will be these 2 sessions. And then our final session will be the undergraduate research session. That will be coming back to the main room. We'll do it from 10:25 to 11:15. And we also mentioned about after the conference ended, we have this happy hour, virtual happy hour. So wish everyone can stay with us and get to know each other and to see how we can do better next year, and also give us more suggestions and explore future collaborations.
Yes, to all participants who are here, if you can mention your affiliation and your location, just like, for example, Professor Alok Bohraj did that on the Zoom, that would be great. So that, in the participant, we can see where people are from and location. It will be easier. I know some of you typed in the chat area, but you can, what we are suggesting is in the participant, you can rename. If you go up on the participant and there's a more under besides your name, you click on that and there's an option for rename. And over there, what we are suggesting that your name, your affiliation, and the location. Thank you. Yeah, I just did mine, you can see. Thank you. So we have 3 minutes left. Maybe Dr. Rimu Chaudhary, you can take the floor, I guess, just to make sure your panelists are, I think they're all here, right? Okay, thank you. It is up to you if you want to share any screen or something, Dr. Rimu Chaudhary, I can.
No,
can
I'm
also
not
do that.
sharing any screen.
Okay,
I think that I should start within 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes. I'm just asking like whether you need to,
Yeah, yes.
for your preparation or something. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I'm starting. So a very good morning to everybody, those who are from US, and good evening to everybody, those who are from rest of the world. I'm Rimu Chaudhary, and warm welcome to the session, Women and Entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia, Bridging the Gap. And today we are having 3 eminent speakers. First one is Professor Mehdi Majbouri from US only, from Babson College, and the other 2 from India, Ms. Shomlita Guho and Ms. Savitri Chakraborty. So without wasting time, I would love to call our first speaker, but before giving the forum to him, I would like to give a short profile of Professor Mehdi Majbouri. I know that he's renowned in this particular field. Still, I would love to say a few words about Professor Mehdi Majbouri. Professor Mehdi Majbouri is an associate professor of economics at Babson College. He is also a research fellow at the Institute of Labor Economics, as well as the Economic Research Forum. He is also the technical director for the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor Team USA and an associate editor of the Middle East Development Journal. His expertise is broadly in three related fields: the microeconomics of developing countries, the economics of entrepreneurship, and energy economics. His research has been published in Feminist Economics, Applied Economics, Energy Policy, Resources Policy, the Quarterly Review of Economics and Finance, and the Journal of Real Estate Economics. So over to Professor Majbouri. Welcome, Professor Majbouri. Please.
Thank you very much, Professor Chaudhary. It's very nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a delight to be in this conference and part of this conversation. Let me share you the slides that I prepared, and so that we don't waste more time. So I'm actually not an expert on entrepreneurship in India, but I have access to some data on entrepreneurship in India, and I thought to present this to the audience. This data comes from a global study of entrepreneurship called a Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, and the acronym is GEM. And GEM has teams across the world, and there is a team in India, GEM India, that collects this data since 2013. So let me give you an overview of the project first, and then show you some results from this project. So as I said, Global Entrepreneurship Monitor is a global study of entrepreneurship since 1999. Initially, there were only a few countries, mostly European countries and North American countries. But gradually more and more countries joined the project. And now it has been about 7 years that GEM India is also participating in this project. So we have data from 2013 onward on India. Data currently are collected across over 50 countries annually. And this data is basically monitored and coordinated across all these 50 countries. So the quality of the data is comparable. And no matter which country you look at, the quality is very comparable. The way that the data is collected is different across countries. So in some countries, it has to be done face-to-face. In some other countries, it has to be done by phone. And only in some rich countries, it is allowed to collect part of the data online. But there are very strict quality check controls on data. So that makes it very comparable across the world. So what type of data is collected in this project? Two types of data are collected. One is the APS data, Adult Population Survey. And this is a population of 2,000 people, basically population survey of 2,000 people randomly selected. And among these people, some of the questions asked, have you started a business in the last 12 months? Do you own a business and manage a business that haven't started in the past? And then based on the answers to these questions, the survey identifies the entrepreneur and asks even more questions from the entrepreneur. So this is really a survey of entrepreneurs and the general public to identify and learn about entrepreneurs. The second survey is a survey of experts. It's called the National Expert Survey. And this is a survey of about 30 experts on entrepreneurship. And the questionnaire asks them about all sorts of dimensions of entrepreneurship environment, like what is the finance environment that the entrepreneurs are exposed to? What about the infrastructure? What is the quality of the infrastructure in the country? What is the quality of banking system? What is the quality of education system, and so on, everything that is labor market and so on, everything that is related to entrepreneurship. So the website is called gemconsortium.org. You can find a lot more information on the website about this project, but I'm not going to bore you more about the project itself, but I'm going to show you some results from this project. All right, as I told you, I'm going to show you only the results from the first set of data set, which is the adult population survey. And for the year 2019, the year before the pandemic started, because like after pandemic, things change. So these are the results from the global study across all countries. So the first result I'd like to show you is a question that we ask everybody in the sample, regardless of whether they are entrepreneurs or not. The question says, do you know someone who has been an entrepreneur, who has started a business in the past 2 years? So do you know someone personally? And this is across different countries. I hope you would be able to see it. In Asia Pacific, on the left side, you have India, right? And India actually scores really high. Generally in the world, this is India, and also especially in Asia Pacific region. But across the world, India usually scores very high on these questions. So this means that many people actually know at least one entrepreneur personally. And you can see, for example, in Japan, the number is very low. Usually, generally in richer countries, the numbers are lower, but particularly, for example, in Japan, it's pretty low. Let's say if you look at the US, the numbers are sort of comparable to India, and so on. This second question is also very interesting. It says, there are good opportunities to start a business in my area. And this question is again asked from everybody, not just entrepreneurs. And again, as you can see, India is doing really well on that. Right? So people agree that there are really good opportunities out there to start a business in their own area. And that is, as you can see, India is probably the top of the world. After Poland, is basically has the highest percentage of adults that agreed with this statement. So I'm actually curious to know what you think about these results. And for example, if you compare it, let's say, to other countries in Asia Pacific, let's say China and Pakistan, and India seems to be significantly better. Another question that we ask is, in my country, it is easy to start a business. This is just about the process of starting the business, not running a business. And again, India is one of the best countries in the world in that sense. And again, other countries in Asia Pacific are lower and significantly lower than India for this statement. Again, this question is asked from everybody, not just entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs might answer this question differently, but the general public answers it that way. Then GEM defines entrepreneurship in a certain way and measures entrepreneurship using this framework, this method. How does it define entrepreneurship? Basically says that you have a set of potential entrepreneurs. These potential entrepreneurs look for opportunities, and they might have knowledge and skills to start a business. Not all of them would start a business, but some of them would. If they get involved in the process of starting a business, like seriously getting involved in that, they may not have started the business, but they have seriously started working on planning and organizing and coordinating everything to start a business. In that phase, they are called nascent entrepreneurs. And then after they start the business, they become owner managers of a new business. And up to 42 months up to 3.5 years, they would be considered as early stage entrepreneurs. So these two groups, the nascent entrepreneurs and owner managers of a new business, together they are basically called entrepreneurs in the GEM surveys. So we call these two groups together entrepreneurs, and the share of people who are involved in either of these two are called total early stage entrepreneurial activity rate. So that share is called total early stage entrepreneurial activity rate, which is the acronym is TEA, T rate. And we actually look at some data on that, the T rate across different countries in the world and in India. Then after 3.5 years, the business is very much established. And when it's very much established, we call those entrepreneurs who have a business that is older than 3.5 years owner
Professor
managers.
Majburi, we are having 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. So let me quickly show you some results about total early stage entrepreneurial activity and owner managers. So this is total early stage entrepreneurial activity in India, for example, across the world. In India, you can see that it's about 15% total early stage entrepreneurial activity, and the established business ownership rate is about 12%, which is relatively good. Not as good as the other questions that we asked, but relatively good. And you can see the other countries, but because we don't have time, I'm going to skip that. You might say why the rate is lower than, the answers to the other questions if people think that there are really good opportunities out there and it's easy to start a business. Why is this rate not as high as, let's say, in Chile or other countries? The answer might be in this question. Many people agree that there are good opportunities out there, but they do not want to start a business because of fear of failure. And in India, many people agree with that, right? So fear of failure is relatively high in India, and that's the reason that people don't start a business, maybe. Moving on, I'd like to show you the female-male entrepreneurship rates. So in India, the male entrepreneurship rate is about 17%. So 17% of male population are early stage entrepreneurs, and about 12% are women, which is good actually. The rates are not that different from each other, but they can be closer as they are, for example, in some Latin American countries or European countries. This is the TEA by age. And India has a very interesting pattern that regardless of age, the TEA rates are relatively the same. Usually TEA rates go up and down as somebody ages. So they are maximum around age 25 to 35, 35 to 45. Those are the ages that entrepreneurship is highest. But in India, it seems that it's almost uniform across all ages. I'm going to report a few results just from GEM India. I'm going to skip these two. So these are the answers that men and women gave to different questions in India, just in India. And what I want to show you is that these questions are about the attitudes and perceptions towards entrepreneurship. And it seems that men and women are very similar to each other. They answered very similarly to these questions. Is starting a business a good career? Pretty much men and women agree on that. Do you know someone who started a business? Do you see good opportunities out there? Do you have the knowledge and experience to start a business? Women and men answered similarly. In fact, women even answered more, that they have knowledge and experience and so on. And the other thing I want to show you, the last slide, is about the motivations to start a business. So if you look at the bottom of the table, these are the 4 motivations to start a business. and women and men roughly responded similarly. So making a difference in the world, men and women are very similar. About great wealth, men and women are very similar, but men are slightly higher. Continue family tradition, men and women are very similar, and earn a living because jobs are scarce. Again, men and women are very similar, but with some differences. That's about it. I apologize for going over time. I hope that it was sort of a useful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Majbouri, for the wonderful presentation. I'm having few questions, but at the end of the session, I will be asking, because just few days back, I have gone through the report, but here Professor Bohra asked that whether, the startup processes in India versus some of the low-rate countries. What is the process in India and what are the processes in other countries? And another question is, do you have data on the failure rate that might be driving the perception of failure? So,
Right.
And do you have a question like know someone who failed? So these are the questions of Professor Bohra.
These are great questions. I cannot answer the first question, unfortunately, because I don't know the answer to that. For the second question, yes, we also measure the failure rate. We don't call it failure, we call it discontinue rate. And discontinuation can be because of multiple reasons. One reason could be that, the business was sold or the entrepreneur retired. Those are all good reasons to discontinue the business. Discontinue the business doesn't mean that the business didn't continue after that. It just means that the entrepreneur is out. But one of the reasons is that the business failed. And we measure that. Unfortunately, I don't have the answers, the rate. So I can't tell you that right now on top of my head. But if you give me some time, like maybe I come back on that in the chat box.
Sure. Thank you. Because another question is there, Professor Mahmood asked, but right now I'm going to the second speaker, and at the end of the session, again, I will come back to you because I'm also having few questions. So
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Ms. Shomrita Guha. I think Shomrita, you are there. And Shomrita is a very, very young women entrepreneur of India. She's very famous and she's the founder and CEO of Paper Cup Online. And her story has been featured for her zeal to contribute to the people of the country in India today. The Telegraph, Your Story, Business India, and other leading newspapers and magazines. Ms. Shomrita is also an eminent public speaker and well-known dignitary invited by academicians and business community in many forums. And her case study is now famous case study for IIM Kolkata and IIM Tiruchirappalli. So over to Shomrita. Shomrita, please.
Thank you so much, Professor Chaudhary. Members of the Faculty of University of New Mexico, Organizing Committee of HPRC 2021, Center on Integrated Rural Development for Asia and the Pacific, respected academicians, esteemed panelists, Madam Moderator, distinguished entrepreneurs, enthusiastic fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt gratitude for inviting me to speak at the 16th Himalayan Policy Research Conference on Women and Entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia and how we can bridge the gap in policymaking. Now, from the perspective of the conference organizers, I believe the key areas that need focus for the overall development are sustainability, livelihood, access to services, governance, some level of rural transformation, climate change, and these are somehow all fundamental ingredients for the development of women entrepreneurship. Therefore, this deliberation on women entrepreneurship and how we can bridge the gap is of utmost relevance in this conference. Also, from the geographical perspective, though we have drawn a circle on Southeast Asia, but keeping the focus region of CIRDAP in mind, I shall expand my journey between parts of India, Asia, and mostly Southeast Asia. I believe this is going to be justifiable as I have followed some level of homogeneity in the problems and prospects of these regions. And I'm sure it's going to bring more value in the wider perspective, as entrepreneurship does not know any boundaries. Now, the region we are talking about here is, of course, vast and it's diverse. It's home to the largest population in the world. It's a $1 trillion economy with a very young workforce. It is also home to several ethnic groups and myriad religions. Now, these unique and diverse composition creates the length, breadth, and depth of the social and cultural patterns wherefrom women like me are coming out to become entrepreneurs. Now, a personal story, when I was about 19 years old, I recognized that entrepreneurship can be a key component of women's economic empowerment. And somehow at that young age, I realized that it did have the potential to contribute significantly in advancing women's opportunities, women's rights, and women's influence. Now, in the last 1 decade, I have worked very closely with young girls and women coming from lesser socioeconomic backgrounds. While doing so, I discovered firsthand some of the most pressing challenges and gender disparities in the economic opportunities that female entrepreneurs face. Now, the foundation of the organization that I have built in the last 10 years is the triple bottom line of people, profit, and planet. In terms of the people, I realized it was crucial to create and improve an enabling environment where entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship would act as sort of a powerful, a catalyst through which women can generate their own employment, can become economically independent, and thereby also feel truly empowered. In my regular interactions with these young girls and women who come from typically the bottom of the pyramid, I have figured roughly three observations, them being the first one: all these girls and women consider themselves lucky, consider themselves fortunate to get the chance to be born at all. This might be surprising, but not so much when you think of the high rate of female feticide, so much so that it was so rampant that the government had to put a ban on prenatal sex determination. Second point being, if and once they get a chance to be born, the opportunities and access that the girls get to education, to employment, to skill development and training is largely disproportionate. Third thing I have noticed is that there is a forced positioning of women as the primary housekeepers, caregivers, and nurturers. And more so, there is additionally motherhood being almost a moral obligation in many cases. Now, after crossing all of this, some women have, of course, entered the workforce, as Professor Majbouri rightly showed in his data. But somehow, I believe the gender revolution did not make a full circle, because while women opted for entrepreneurship or entered the workforce, these regions did not do much to reduce the responsibilities they have at home. So now they basically have to tackle both. This thus arises the need for more family-friendly policies, maybe making childcare more affordable. In total, I believe it requires a more holistic approach to address an issue that is not on the surface, but way more deep-rooted, as you can understand. So typically policymakers and educators must understand the deep connect or interaction between family and career aspirations. Even so, now inside the entrepreneurial ecosystem, I have found some compelling sort of findings that are largely gender sensitive. For instance, first would be access to finance and assets, institutional and government funding. A lot is happening in India, but it needs more structuring. Moreover, women are still deprived from inheriting assets and properties from parents. Men inherit those, and they can often, these assets can be used as collateral for raising capital. Second point being access to technology, the power to harness digital innovation. Third would be access to information, to skills, to knowledge. Fourth, Professor Majburi rightly pointed out, there is significant fear of failure. The reputational damage of failure, the culture of saving face, almost often I have seen makes entrepreneurship sort of unthinkable. Fifth would be, I'd say, restricted mobility in many ways, and this is quite important. It is still not safe for women to visit certain locations or to go to certain places after an hour, a particular hour in the day, to meet potential vendors or suppliers or clients, or just to typically build a network, which is an integral part of any business. Sixth, a relevant, salient point, I would say, is relocation. It is common for women to relocate to her in-laws post-marriage. All right, I'd wrap up. It is, yes, thank you. It is common for women to relocate, post-marriage to their in-laws, and this often uproots them and creates a bit of uncertainty in their entrepreneurial decision-making. And, the list can go on. I can assure you that whatever I'm saying is firsthand, it's up close, and it's an insider's point of view. So the point I'm trying to drive home is that we need to consistently and periodically revisit the strengths and weaknesses of national economies, and to understand how women-led businesses can be the key drivers to create employment in these economies. So we must reinvent and reform laws and regulations and socio-cultural norms that restrict women's inclusion in labor force and entrepreneurship. What I'm intending to say is to not change typically the rules of the game, but to change the game itself. So, which part of the world we are born in, which gender we are born as, should not lead to disparities in economic opportunities. I would like to conclude by saying that let demography not define destiny. Thank you.
Thank you, Shomrita, because you are always so vibrant and as usual. So thank you. I hope that so many questions will be coming. And now the third speaker, Savitri Chakraborty. Savitri is actually a cybersecurity professional and a food enthusiast who brought in her global experience around food and people creating Coating Coffees. Coating Coffees is a brainchild of Savitri and her mother. She helped her mother live the entrepreneur self of hers, putting together her experience and thoughts. Today, besides her cybersecurity job, she lives her passion through connecting food and people at Coating Coffees. Over to Savitri. Savitri, please.
Thank you, Professor Chaudhary. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening. It's such a delight, to see such amazing faces and presence on a Sunday evening, my time. I'm very humble. So, I belong to IT. I'm honed and groomed in IT, so I believe in reusable components. I heard Shomrita previously expressing her gratitude to all the relevant parties so beautifully. So I would like to extend that, use that as a reusable component, and my humble gratitude to all of you. right? So entrepreneurship, right? The topic is entrepreneurship, women and entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia, bridging the gap. So I think women are kind of born entrepreneurs. So if we think about entrepreneurship as, let aside the business part, to an idea, to a seed, to a tree. If you think about entrepreneurship like that, women are anyway designed like that. So somebody said that women have been chosen as the portals between the universe, the intangible part of the universe, the tangible part of the universe, to bring in babies. So we conceive birth. So we are empowered to bring, ideas, a seed inside ourselves, bring out and completely bring change to the world. So entrepreneurship is in our DNA. Now, bridging the gap, yes, a gap has always been there. And you know what I believe, gentlemen, ladies, all of you are here from, a lot of you are from academics, and you would know statistics. Maybe talk about a lot of interesting statistics. Gaps are there, and they would be there. It's not only for women, it's also for men, I would say. So my story is like, honestly, I would say you would hear very encouraging things from me, because I have faced very little how do I say, resistance from people. I have always been blessed with people coming in, putting together their blessings, their hands, and helping me grow. So in my IT career, and as Professor Chaudhary said, I'm still a director with an esteemed company. And then I have been blessed with the opportunity of visiting different countries, and always had cafes as my passion, because, going to different countries, weekends are in cafes and talking, food and people have been my passion. Now, coming back, I see my mother, right? And she is an awesome cook. And I see she is capable of running so many systems together, running joint families in India, like you see. And across Southeast Asia, we name India, China, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, any of those, we would see women are capable of doing so many things together. So many times I got the opportunity of settling in outside India, in the in fact, day before yesterday, I was having a talk with a gentleman. He was saying that, come over to US. But always my country had a calling for me. And they see India has got a tremendous potential for doing businesses. We sell tea for probably 10 rupee a cup. In COVID, post-COVID times or through COVID times, there have been times people have brought in the ecosystem, the business system of 1 rupee a cup of tea for sustainability, for helping each other to actually help sustain the ecosystem. Now, coming to my story is very, very, you can very, very well relate. We are entrepreneurs. I always have believed that I have the entrepreneurship DNA. Even at work, I have always been given the opportunity, always been blessed with trust and belief from people to be an entrepreneur. Shomrita said that entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, right? So it starts with that capability. So I have always generated ideas, put them into production, shown, sold, and done stuff. Now, when it came to putting together Coating Coffees, so I'm a mother of a 9-year-old daughter who is a budding entrepreneur. I tell you, Mehdi, there was a question of failure from somebody on Mehdi. So I would actually give that example, that how actually failure could lead to brilliant business ideas. So, but I'll come to that later. So Coating Coffees, I always wanted to have a cafe, and I saw my mom being my father's retirement, she having lesser responsibilities, she was totally ready. So think about it. You can see my background. There is a BMW in the back. So entrepreneurship can be driven by dreams. Entrepreneurship can be driven by need. Entrepreneurship can be driven by so many other reasons. So I could always see the dream of my mom that she could not pursue. So I thought, let me help her pursue her dream of driving a business with my brainchild, which is Coating Coffees. So we are a small continental driven coffee shop. And the idea was home away from home, right? So people can come in, they can sit, have a cup of coffee, tea, all home sourced from India, right? And they can actually feel at home, food which is healthy, a little people can pursue their choices and so on and so forth. So when I honestly, while I was working with mom to build a cafe, my daughter was just 4 years old, going to a preschool. My job was completely at high threshold. And mom being 60 plus, you understand. So maybe one of your data charts say that in India, the age bracket of 55 to 64 have got tremendous participation, isn't it? So that's where it's, I mean, Southeast Asian ladies are capable of doing anything at any point in life. Ask an 80-year-old. I've got case studies where 80-year-old is driving entrepreneurship, selling just basic Indian food and sustaining the ecosystem. Now, policies, rules, regulations are definitely demography driven. They are there, they would be evolving, emerging. But what I believe, what I have seen is that it has to start in me. It has to, if I have to be an entrepreneur, if I have to drive an idea, so I have to have the belief in me. I belong to India, the place of Lord Krishna, right? Many of you must have heard. So he used to say that youth, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would say the Hindi and then translate that. He says, youth ran bhumi se pehle man bhumi mein lada jata hai. So the planning, before you actually execute it on ground, it has to be in your mind first. So absolute blueprint, belief, trust, nuts and bolts, you have to know that it's already there. Right then, it would translate. And then when you go to people proposing your ideas, you just have it and people work as reflectors. Now, what is the opacity? What is the transparency of the reflector depends on people. But if you have that belief, that is always acceptable. And from where helping hands come in, where people with that belief come in, you can't even apprehend. I think a very elementary thing to probably that can be socialized more is the belief in women that you are able to do stuff. If you have a dream, if you think you are capable, and you are capable of driving a business, an idea, then every roadblocks are good actually. That makes your belief more stern. That increases your surety, and that's what I have seen. So that's how entrepreneurship in India, for example, there are multiple financial aids, there are multiple schemes and all. But think in villages especially, there are schemes which enables women in the villages to have their entrepreneurship ideas germinated. But the point is that they're not educated. So probably we as mature entrepreneurs, if we can say so, I mean, there is no, I mean, the maturity goes on and on and on, evolution happens. But
2 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. I have my timer on too. Thanks. So the point here is to educate people, tell them that instill the belief, come with a plan, keep talking to people, and people will help you. Absolutely. Coming to failure, developing a culture of entrepreneurs. My 9-year-old, she keeps on getting ingredients to making face masks. Every day I come home and I see there are a number of stuff, probably a bottle of oil, some cream, some shampoos or something, and she tries to make face scrubs. She keeps on failing, and then she'll say, I would have a business someday of beauty products. I like fashion. Think about it. So you are instilling that culture, and then she'll go to school, she'll talk. Their moms would know this happens. She talks to her teachers. My mom is an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur, right? So, and one day this child came up with a scrub. Mom, for tonight's sleep party, we have a scrub made. I said, really? And she said, it doesn't hurt. So I put that on, and that didn't hurt. That brought out brilliant results. So I guess if a 9-year-old can be actually motivated by that action. So all we need is to actually strengthen the ecosystems. The nuts and bolts will fall in place. Proponents would come in place. So that's my story, and it's all belief. Be the belief yourself. People would reflect for sure. So with that, I would close it. Thank you.
Thank you, Savitri, for your wonderful presentation. And I hope all women, they will be, will be getting energy from your and Shumrita's talk. So some questions are there. I'm just trying to put the question. One question of Professor Saqib Mahmood to Professor Majbouri, that compared to other countries, are the fear of failure rates 55.9% to 56.5% for male and female respectively, highest in the world? Professor Majbouri, please.
Yes, yes. In fact, in India, the fear of failure rates are some of the highest in the world. That's correct. Yeah. I can pull up that slide again to show you that. If there are no other questions, actually. So this question, there are good opportunities, but would not start a business for fear of failure. As you can see, let me just make it bigger. So India is the highest, if not one of the highest. This is the result from 2019, but these results don't change from year to year that much. Maybe a few percentage points up and down, but they are very stable across countries. And you can see actually that in India, the fear of failure is the highest. And that is something that, policymakers can pay attention to. In these situations, usually if the media talks a lot about success stories and entrepreneurs who are successful, especially women entrepreneurs who are successful, and portray them in the media as good role models, that would reduce. Yes. I hope I answered that question. Did I answer that question?
I think yes. Professor Mahmood, I think he has given the answer.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Majbouri. I also have a follow-up question. In the first slide, I think you showed, I think in the Middle East and Africa, Saudi Arabia has lots of businesses opening up. I think the very first slide,
The very first.
I think is it slide number 6?
Number 6, yes.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like what kind of businesses are you aware of that? What kind of businesses they're considering or contemplating? Because our perception is, I think they're more into oil and petroleum, energy industries. But just curious to know if you have any.
So in fact, mostly a good question. So this one is not about how many businesses have already started. This is about if somebody personally knows someone who is an entrepreneur. Like, you know, you have a friend who is an entrepreneur, or my uncle is an entrepreneur. Like you would know someone who is an entrepreneur, and then you would say yes to this question. But the one that is about activity is this one. Let me just pull it up. Right. Okay, this is the one. So this shows actual entrepreneurs. So it has two rates: total early stage entrepreneurial activity, TEA rate. So that this is TEA. This is the share of the population who are entrepreneurs, and that's the blue bars. And then the second one is established business ownership rate. This is the share of the population who are owning and managing a business that is more than 3.5 years old. So going back to Saudi Arabia, I'm trying to find it. It's in Asia, it's in Middle East. And Saudi, okay. So you see the TA rates are comparable to India actually, but the established business rates are lower. In India, the established business rates are quite actually high, about 12%. And the TEA rates, those who have started a business, but the business is younger than 3.5 years old, that's about 15%. In India, I can tell you that most businesses are in service industries. In Saudi Arabia as well, most businesses are in service industries, because like the money that is generated through the oil industry has to be spent somewhere, and demand for usually service sector goes up, especially the service sector is not a tradable sector. So people who are starting a business in the service sector, they are usually isolated from global competition. So they have a small shop, they're selling goods, or they are lawyers, or they are consultants and so on. So any service industry is usually isolated from global competition. So most entrepreneurs, especially in countries that are oil rich, start a business in service sector. Another sector that is very popular in oil rich countries is construction. Construction is generally very active, but usually is dominated by big firms. So it's harder to be an entrepreneur, except if you are like a plumber or electrician, or you're doing a tradesman work on a smaller scale. Otherwise, like big companies usually dominate, and Saudi Arabia has, for example, really big companies. But in India and in Saudi Arabia, both countries, actually, the service sector dominates basically in terms of entrepreneurship.
Thank you, Dr. Majbouri. That explains.
Sure. You're very welcome. I just want to mention that none of these results that I showed you are my work. These are done by people who have been involved with in each country. So I'm only involved with the US. So the results from the US are my work, but not India. So for India itself, the results that I showed you specifically for India are the work of doctors Sonil Shukla, Pankaj Bharti, and Amit Kumar Dwivedi. So if you have the reports, the link to the reports, I posted them in the chat box. When you read the reports, you can get much more information, and also you can contact people on the report for more information and data. And the data is publicly available, so you can download the data up to year 2017. The data is only publicly available for all the years up to 3 years before today. So it's up to 2017, and next year it's going to be up to 2018, for example. And you can use the data yourself as well.
Thank you, Professor Majbouri. So many questions are there, but time is up. One question is there from Shomoji. Do you think that the gender of a chief minister and her connections to local government officials play an instrumental role in bridging the gap? I think the question to Shomrita and Savitri, if I'm not wrong, but time is up. So Shomojit, you can connect Shomrita or Savitri. And I'm wrapping up our panel over here. Thank you, Professor Majburi, Shomrita, and Savitri. I know that you are all very busy out of your busy schedule. You have given us time, so thank you very much. And thank you, the organizing committee of Himalaya Policy Research, for organizing such panel of women entrepreneurship. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.